Welcome to the Georgia Institute of EMS Underground. I am Charles McFall. I am the media specialist here at the Georgia Institute of EMS. And as you know, this is live on Facebook. It's a question about ask a paramedic anything, right? Here's where you get to ask your questions. It can be about school, it can be about life, it can be about how to survive in the field, it can be about all of those things or none of those things, whatever you think of. Like, share, love, happy face, smiley face, all that jazz. Let's get the word out there about what's going on here. And I am going to get this, I'm getting it up on my tablet so I can see your comments and I can hear myself back. Now, there's been some changes to my studio that you probably maybe can't tell from the camera. But I've had to redo my setup. I had a very nice setup, and this is going to kind of play into. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about today. I'm hoping that you will ask me questions and let's have a conversation going. If not, I can pull up some questions I've been asked before and do that. But I might sound a little different. I don't know. Of course, I definitely in my own ears sound different because I've had to replace my nice high-end studio box and go back to, because the power supply died on it and it's not working correctly off the computer supply. It's computer supply to power. So I've had to go back to my old analog board with knobs and stuff, and it sounds different to my ears, and that's how that goes. And sometimes that's how things happen right in EMS. You're the director of the EMS service, be it private, be it county-based, hospital-based, whatever, they buy new equipment, right? And they didn't consult you, the paramedic, you, the EMT, you, the employee, the people who use it every day. They don't consult us, right? They just sometimes buy things. And I know on the paramedic level, there's preferences on to what cardiac monitors to use. There's definitely preferences on what style of blades to use for intubation. There's all those kind of things. So that's just kind of where I am right now today. And I'm going to test my comment out here just to make sure everything's working correctly. All right, it is. So go ahead and you can ask your questions, those kind of things. I did, whatever. So, and I'm still wearing a hat today. I don't know if you noticed this before, but I'm wearing this hat because my hair is a mess. I need a haircut like nobody's business. And it's just, yeah. I'm hiding from the world with my haircut. So there's that. All right. Well, let's see. You know what? I will pull up some old questions to get this ball rolling since nobody is jumping in and asking me anything. So the paramedic refresher course is done, and that's good. I still have to get my ACLS and PALS done, and honestly, I still need to really. The refresher course was a good start. It was a great start to show me, hey, what I remembered, what I recalled from being on the truck, and showed me what I need to work on. And of course, I can go to old world style of I made my notes in class. I did. I made my notes and marked down, look up this, look up that. Those are the areas I was weak on. And I could just Google it. I could get a paramedic book and read the book. What I like to do is practice tests. I personally love flashcards and practice tests and get a feeling for what's being asked, the mindset of how the questions are generated, so that I can learn from that, basically. So that's how I do it. And right now I am still waiting on some money to come in so that I can pay for a service that does that. I did talk about last week. I got, let me pull up my phone. Get my phone here. I've got an app on the phone I talked about last week, and we'll talk about this week. And that's probably it because, I'd like them to pay us to talk about them because it's a good app. But we have students coming through here all the time. So if we're going to promote this, we kind of need to get taken care of. Pocket Prep. Pocket Prep is the app that I got, and it's pretty good. I'm probably going to pay for that. I might even still pay for one of the websites that are out there. So let's go to the questions, since nobody here is sending me anything. And please, ask me anything. I mean, it doesn't even have to be medical. It can be something related to life, something related to politics. I refuse to talk about. Politics, religion, I'm not going to do that. Although I will say, I will say this about politics and religion. They have no place on an ambulance, ever, for any reason. you deal with so many different walks of life that while it could be unmalicious, I'm being a devil's advocate because I have strong views on people who push religion on other people and those kind of things. But when you offer to pray for somebody, you really have to be careful. It's I'm going to assume, playing devil advocate, I'm going to assume when you offer to pray for somebody that it's your belief and you just want to help them out, so on and so forth. It's a good natured thing, which there's issues with that. But what if they're an atheist? What if the church treated them wrong? What if they feel like God abandoned them? What if people who've offered to pray for them before were really just trying to control them? So these are things that, sure, if you want to pray for somebody, just pray quietly to yourself. You don't have to hold their hand and pray out loud. If they ask you to, sure. It definitely depends on the patient. But religion is very, very touchy in the back of an ambulance. Because, one, we're all about the science. Have your beliefs, have your faith, know that God's got your back, whatever. But we're about the science on the truck. So it's about the steps. It's about what medical direction is set forth. It's about what we've been taught on how to do things. Right. So I just realized I should put some nice stuff around me on the screen. I don't know, a shiny moment. So just be very careful. Discussing it with your partner can be very dangerous as well, because stuff like politics, like sex, like religion, discussing these things can make or break a partnership. So you have to be very, very careful with that. Not saying you can never do it. Definitely just be careful if you work with a gay man or a gay woman and you're straight and you want to talk about what happened on church on Sunday, but all they've ever done has been persecuted by the church. It's going to make a bad relationship for you and your partner. So be careful. Politics are the same way. Man, politics have no place on an ambulance. Talking about them for any reason, anywhere, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for fights. You're asking for arguments. Because most of the time in these categories, the reason why these things are bad to talk about in EMS is because nobody listens when in those topics. Typically, when you discuss politics, when you discuss sex, when you discuss religion, you are pushing your point, and you're not listening to the other person's point, and vice versa. They're absolutely not listening to your point. They have to push their point. It's no good. So keep those things off the ambulance. And the last thing I want to talk about keeping off the ambulance, selling things. I have indeed been on an ambulance with a paramedic captain at that, who was in the back of the truck trying to sell whatever the hot thing was at the time for your health, whatever the freaking pyramid scheme. You have to use this great miracle oil or drug or whatever and rub it on your skin, or take the pill 3 times a day, or eat this way. And then, you know what? You can make tons of money by selling it to all your friends. No. Bad medic. No. Because I've been there where we have a patient in the back of the truck who's chronically ill, and damn, if that medic did not try to sell his system, Advocare or essential oil. It wasn't essential oils. I got off the truck long before essential oils came along. But you know what I'm saying. The thing that people are like, oh my God, this is so much good for my life. Fine. But really, when all you're doing is saying how good it is because you can sell it, because that's what these things do, maybe it works. Maybe it works for you. Maybe it doesn't. But I can't say at all ever in my experience, and I've been around a lot of people who've used a lot of different things, that they've stayed on it ever. Noni juice. Does anybody remember NONI, Noni juice? That went away a long time ago, and if that wasn't the craziest thing ever, drinking this berry juice from Hawaii, and it's going to clean you out, and this and that and the other, and it made me sick. Literally, it made me sick. My mom believed in it for a long time. Guess what? She doesn't do it anymore. Well, if it's so great, and that's what you have to ask yourself. If it's so great, then what are you not doing it for the rest of your life for? Yeah. That's what I thought. Anyway, selling in the back of the truck is that I will pull the truck over and throw you out on the side of the road if you're my partner. That needs to stay away from the ambulance, period. And I'm literally not kidding you. I have had not just EMTs, not just paramedics, but captains, the people who are supposed to lead the truck, lead the shift, sit in the back of an ambulance and try to sell it to a patient. And I didn't even wait till I get to the hospital. I broke the rules. I got on my cell phone as I'm driving, not priority, we're driving non-priority to the hospital, but I got on my cell phone, called my boss and said, this person is doing this right now in the back of the truck, and you need to get them off the truck because this is unacceptable. So those are things you want to keep away from the truck. Now, hey, ask me anything. Hit me with a question. I'll give you my opinion. I'll give you my experience. I'll give you the medical stuff behind it, those kind of things. But yeah, no religion, no politics, and no selling. So let's see here. Here is a question from just a bunch of questions I collected looking up paramedic stuff and EMT stuff. This is a question that says, do you get to choose who you drive with? I think they mean partners. My husband and I both want to become EMTs, and we're wondering if we could work together. I don't know, man. I don't know. If you're man, I don't know. Technically, yes. I think it's legally acceptable. I think it's probably ethically and morally acceptable. But man, it's like having 10 cans of gasoline and you're juggling fire. 10 open cans of gasoline sitting around while you're juggling fire. I have seen, and they got divorced. I have seen a man and wife team try to work together. And I've seen actually two now that I think of it. I've seen two try to work together. One couple was a paramedic EMT. So, of course, the paramedic knows more. But you're married, and in your life, you're trying to be equal at home. And when I say trying to, I think as human beings, we never find equality. I think as human beings, there's times when I compromise and give my wife stuff. She compromises and gives me stuff. And we do find a middle ground that's ours, right? But equality is such a weird thing. And how do you even measure that in a relationship? Because there'll be times when you're thinking about it, one of you's probably being unequal. So in a perfect world, off duty, when you're married, it's a partnership. It's equal. You both have an equal say, and you're both valid. When it's a paramedic EMT, whether the paramedic's wrong or not, the paramedic's in charge. So that ended up turning ugly. And the thing is, you don't always get to work your same shifts, right? So I'm not sure they are partners. I want to say it was at National EMS, and I want to say that National, for this couple, and I want to say that National kept them separate because not only do you have the equality inequality issue, right? So you have the husband-wife team working together, and somebody has to make a call sometimes. You have that issue. It's never good for a couple to be generally on top of each other all the time, right? If you're at home together and you work together, you need some time apart as human beings. So there's that issue. Then you have the issue, what if you got in a fight at home? Because couples fight, right? I fight with my wife. We run into issues. Stress builds up. And this is a stressful job as well. And everybody processes things differently. So you've got stress building there. What if you have a fight at home? Now it's at work, right? You have issues. Then there's the being in love thing and the sex, right? That's sex is a bad juju thing to happen on shift. And it does happen. Don't get me wrong. People have sex in the back of the ambulance. They have sex in the bunk rooms. It happens. But for the most part, everybody tries to keep it out of work because it's an issue. It can cause issues. There's so many emotional issues. Then there's the man protecting the woman thing. Then there's the woman protecting the man thing. There's so many issues in working together. So this first couple, the paramedic EMT, they worked together some, but for the most part, they tried to keep it separate. And I'm not saying it's a job. I have no idea what fully led to their divorce, but they got divorced. So that became an issue. And then she ended up leaving the company and doing some other stuff. Anyway, then there was a dual EMT couple. Now, as EMTs, unless you run a basic truck, there's no way to ride together, right? You could probably work the same shift where the husband's on one truck and the wife's on the other truck, or husband. I'm going from the question where it's my husband. Well, actually, I assume there's a she. That could be a gay couple, my husband and I. The point is spouses. So husband, wife, husband, wife, however you want to define it. No issues. I'm not being sexist. I'm trying to address the issue of couples working together on an ambulance. So as two EMTs, they had to work separate trucks. Sometimes they got lined up to work the same shift so that they'd be off at the same time, but they were working different trucks. Sometimes, I think actually that couple had a small child who needed care, like daycare, those kind of things, supervision, as opposed to like a teenager who not necessarily should be alone for 24 hours, but could do some of their own stuff for a while. So I think they actually had to work it where they worked opposite shifts, so somebody was always home with the kid, right? So that became an issue too. So honestly, to answer this question, do you get to choose who you drive with? Well, just in general, who you partner with can be requested, but it's never guaranteed. Never guaranteed. It depends on the chemistry between the people. Because I get with some people and I just goof off the whole time and make bad decisions as far as what's fun and what's funny. Some people, they just don't click, right? I've run a 24-hour shift saying minimal words to my partner because there was nothing to talk about. This lady wanted to only talk about Fox News, how it was right, and and I'll hear your point. Don't get me wrong. So I know if I throw out the word Fox News, it's going to set people off on both sides of the argument. But my point is, I can talk to you for a little bit, and if you can listen to me, I will listen to you. We can discuss things. But this lady basically preached from the Bible of Fox News. Just this is how things have to be. Just always pushed her agenda no matter what in every conversation. Every conversation. So I'd bring a book. And I would say, yes, I work with her fine on a call, medic to medic. But off the active call, it was, I don't want to talk to you. I'd said that to her. It's like, look, you don't listen at all. You have a life that all you want to do is talk about everything. You call somebody else. I'm going to go in the bunk room, and I'm going to play on my computer and whatever. You can have the TV, watch whatever you want. I'm not going to argue with you. I will remove myself from the situation. Or we have to be out somewhere watching a football game or something. I'll do that. I'll have a book to read. So there's that partnership, right? I didn't choose her. She surely didn't choose me. It was what was needed. So you don't always get to choose who you partner with, which is a better way to phrase that. And a husband and wife team, husband, wife, dating couple, is never a good idea to work together on a truck. Ever. I love my wife. She is a great partner in our marriage. And by all means, I run my own business. I work for myself. I consult her as an equal on the things that I do. And I flat out told her, I will never have you work in my company, ever. Because I never, ever, ever want to be the boss of her. Because as a boss, you have to make different decisions than a husband. I am fine I never want to be business partners with her. I want to be the true meaning of life partner. I want to be a partner in life with her. So I keep her, she's special. She is here in this category as somebody who understands me fully, somebody who I can consult with, who I trust, but I will never have her work for me. And I would say work with me either. She would definitely help me. It's a situation by situation thing. So go ahead and let's hit those hearts, man. Let's hit those likes. Let's hit those smiley faces. If you got a question, anything, just ask me about anything. I would really, really love the interaction. Some days on this show we get some great interaction here. Some days, like today and last week, I just have to do my own thing. And again, Tom's not here today because they're this close to getting the school fully renovated. Man, they've extended it out to have a CNA program, and they've got the CNA classroom set up. And I think that's what they're painting today. They've got the practice nursing home getting set up. It's really cool what they're doing over there, what Tom and Barb and everybody else are doing over there. I think we've talked about this. Yeah, we've talked about that one. We'll skip that. Let's see. Okay. This one is interesting. Now, I'm not sure how true this question is because it is pulled from the internet and everybody can have one side or the other. So, we're going to address a couple different levels, but here's a great question. Not a medical question, but I'm a paramedic student, and in clinicals, I have been highly assaulted from two different charge nurses as well as a doctor with anti-Semitic insults and hate doing them at the only hospital I'm able to go to for my clinical. All right, so there's a couple of levels here. So paramedic student, right? Clinicals. I've been in that situation where you have one ambulance service to ride with, one hospital to work in. And they can be, I had a paramedic clinical and an ER, the only ER I could go to. And I had to get them done. I'll tell you that story in a second, but I had to get them done. And it's the only ER I could go to. And I spent the entirety of my clinical shift babysitting, and I use air quotes, babysitting a patient who was a possible threat to themselves. They were strapped to the bed. And I just had to make sure they didn't try to get up out of bed. Now, they're strapped to it. But literally, the nurses parked me because they didn't want to deal with me. And for 8 hours, I sat in a chair. And this is pre-internet on your cell phone, pre-Wi-Fi in the hospitals. So luckily, I had a book in my car. And I sat and read a book for 8 hours. Actually, I think it's about 6 hours because I cut out early. I didn't even look at my sheet. I just had them sign it, and I filled in the hours. I cheated. I did. But they were screwing me. I wasn't learning anything. The patient was comatose. They were out of it. And these assholes tried to park me. That is not what a clinical is all about. So, I fully understand, as a student, you get no choice in what you do. You have to show up. Hopefully, cross your fingers, hopefully you get a good nurse to follow around, or a good paramedic, or a good OB. Now, that's the flip side, man. My OB clinical, phenomenal. I got to go help with the neonatal ICU and learn about what was going on with the babies and learn some different techniques that I wouldn't necessarily use in the field, but I got to understand more about what was going on there and the concerns and why the nurses do what they do. I also got to watch, almost got hands-on, but the doctor changed his mind last second. But I still got to be in the OR and watch a C-section on twins. And that was amazing. That was cool. So OB, great clinical. ER, horrible clinical. So you have that going on there. I won't get to the verbal assault, what they're talking about here. And I hated. There was an ambulance service I rode with that there was a person who was just very quiet about what he did, and so they didn't want to answer any of my questions. They didn't want to talk to me. I was supposed to sit in the corner and be quiet too, and that sucked. But I also had clinicals with medics who would teach me. So, okay. So my clinicals were paramedic school. Here's what happened. My paramedic school was, I want to say, 6 months long. And it literally just happened to be a last minute class I did. I was able to get into it. At the time, it was not a regular thing that Athens Tech did at all. There was something they were trying out, so I got into that class. And in the process, working with the state and everything, they were having a very, very hard time setting up clinicals. Very hard time. It was a state coordinator. I don't remember who it was, but he was bad at his job. Very bad at his job, because our instructor was always every week going, we have no word on clinicals. We have no word on clinicals. And the instructor, the court and state coordinator would come in and try to schmooze us, right? Try to be political and like, oh yeah, no, we're working on it. At one point, he dropped the ball so badly, he actually came in and said the state is not going to require you to do clinicals. Now, I was okay with that personally because I was an active EMT with a great paramedic who looked after not just my best interest, but the interests of future patients, and was teaching me what I needed to do, teaching me what I needed to learn. So that was okay, but there were other people who weren't active in the field going through paramedic school. So did not require clinical. We're gonna pass you off on clinicals. Da, da, da. And he said that, and we had maybe. So I said 6 months. So we had maybe 2 months left for class. I mean, we're getting down to crunch time, right? We're getting down to, okay, we're focusing on the last heavy duty stuff and the last heavy duty learning, because the last month is really review and hammering it in and practice tests. And you're talking about 2 classes a night. So you're talking about, 2 classes a week, rather, 2, 4, 6, 8 classes in 1 month. So 16 classes left, and most of us worked full time, blah, blah, blah. And that jackass from the state came in and goes, "Oh, no, we finally got it worked out. You're going to do this clinical at this one hospital, this one ambulance service, and all 12 of you have to work out how to get your 40 hours or 60 hours, whatever it was, of time in." And it was, oh, my God. They did actually say, okay, if you work on an ambulance right now, you can have your partner, your paramedic partner or your supervisor, whatever, sign off on your hours, sign off that you did tasks or whatever, and so that can condense it. 'Cause you're talking about 12 to 14 people, maybe 16. I don't think we had 16. I think we had 14, but 12 to 14 people, all having to get 60 to 100 hours at the time. I don't remember the exact number of OB clinicals and of EMS ride-alongs and ER time and intubation in the surgical OR and blah, blah, blah. You had people who had to do that. And I remember the only ones I actually did were the OB. I did that one ER clinical and worked it out otherwise after that. Because they just, I said, no, I'm not going back. I'm a grown man. I'm working on all this stuff, and I'm not going to go waste 8 hours sitting in a chair against a wall because you, the state, dropped the ball. F you, man. And they worked it out. The whole class pushed back on this guy. The whole class pushed back. It was such a poorly done job of getting it done. Now, that's not the constructor, Steve Moyer. No, Steve, maybe it was Moyer. The paramedic instructor was great. He was amazing. He taught us everything. Most of his class passed National Registry. Most of us did. I think maybe 1 or 2 never did. But he was great. It wasn't his job to get the clinicals set up. The way that class was set up, he was teaching us, he was giving us the knowledge, and the state representative was setting up the clinicals. So we all pushed back on the state hard, and they compromised some with us. So there was that. So all my ambulance time was counted for clinicals. I did the OR for the intubation, and that was very helpful. It was really helpful to be able to do that. Fortunately, I had a partner who trusted me. Holy crap, people. I'm in the middle of a show, and my wife is just sending me pictures and now, because I didn't see her pictures, she's texting me that I need to see her pictures. I do a show on Tuesday afternoons. Come on, lady. You know how this goes. Oh, my God. So, it's so irritating. They got other people going, oh, packages, blah, blah. Okay. Why right now? Nobody's talked to me all day. Why right now? So let's get to the assault. Verbal assault from 2 different charge nurses. We'll stop there and we'll get to the doctor. And the anti-Semitic remarks. I have no idea where this person was doing their practicals at all. What pops in my mind is New York City, because New York City's, in general, the impression that people who don't live in New York City get, that I get, is that rudeness is kind of a way of life, and people say things. So I can say here in Georgia, I definitely have had nurses treat me like I'm an idiot. I'm talking about after becoming a paramedic captain and being in the field for many years. You'll walk into a hospital as an active medic with a patient, and you'll get charge nurses treating you like dog crap. You will get doctors treating you like dog crap. So as much as you hate doing these clinicals, and as much as you hate getting yelled at, it's training right this second. It is training to get you to toughen up to that. Because you still, when you're a medic, when you're an EMT, you still have to do your job, whether they're doing theirs or not. You still have to put up with idiot doctors who think they run the world and will meet you at the dock and say, without saying diversion, without saying, they'll try to block you from coming into a hospital. It's like, we're coming into this hospital right now because of this legal medical thing that's going on, blah, 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 blah. So you have all that going on in life. You have doctors who will treat you like crap. You have doctors who will question every move you make. You have, yeah, you have all of that stuff. You'll have doctors who, because you didn't do it exactly the way that this one single doctor out of 20 that you work with in the ER, this one single doctor wants it done in this exact way every single time because you didn't, he'll call your supervisor every single time. And your supervisor will just go, yes, Dr. So-and-so, sure. Or, maybe they'll fight back, whatever, but you won't get in trouble. Now, the anti-Semitic remarks, that is something to talk about, especially as a student. At no juncture in your career, as an EMT, as a student, as a medic, as whatever, at no point in time should it ever be okay for anybody to verbally assault you with racial slurs, with religious slurs, with sexist slurs, with anything that targets you, like in this case, the anti-Semitic insults. As a student, you should have the right, and I say should because I, again, have no idea where this person was doing their class. I have no idea where this person was working on things. So I would have to say you should have the ability to go to your teacher, to go to your course lead, to go to your clinical organizer. I forget what they're called, but the people who set up the clinicals. To go to somebody and say, make a report. This is what that person just said to me. This is how I'm being treated in the ER. And somebody should absolutely take it serious. And somebody should absolutely make a stink about this. You as a student don't have the power to make a stink about it. If you can go to their direct supervisor and say, everybody has, even doctors have supervisors. Doctors, 9 times out of 10 in an ER, it's a service, a doctor service that is providing doctors for that ER. The ER contracts with the service. The service hires the doctors themselves. They pay the doctors themselves and bill the hospital. Doctors are not the end-all be-all of anything ever. Ever. Actually, the people who control the money are the end-all be-all of everything in the hospital. The hospital administrator never has to be a doctor. In fact, there's one I know of that was a lawyer. I'm not sure where that stands now. So the people it always comes down to money. The people who control the money control the power. And so you absolutely have a recourse about a doctor giving you anti-Semitic insults. You have recourse for the nurses, for sure. Will anything happen? I don't know, but you're a human being. Even as a student, you're a human being who deserves to be talked to like a human being. Now, personally, the nurse literally, when I walked into that clinical that I ended up babysitting the patient, she turned her nose up at me and tried to palm me off on every other nurse, and every other nurse had an excuse why they couldn't have a student, follow them around or help them. That's the thing. I'm a paramedic student. I'm an active EMT, and I'm a smart guy. I can be helpful. I can be invisible. And I'm 6'6". At the time, I was 370 pounds. I can be invisible. I can step back. I can not get in the way. I can be quiet. Whatever it is, but I still need to learn. I need to at least be active, do something. None of these nurses wanted to work with any student. I wasn't the only one. I had many, many students came back from that hospital, and then they just shut down the ER clinical. We all did like one rotation in that ER, and the state shut it down and signed us off. Because that hospital, even though they got them to agree, nobody wanted to teach anybody anything. Everybody wanted the student to sit against the wall and be out of the way. That was it. So when I walked in, she literally turned her nose up at me and goes, I don't have time for this today. She had 2 patients. 2 patients. 2. They picked a bad hospital. They picked a bad hospital for us to do clinicals in. Nobody wanted it. So yeah, you will get that. Did I make a stink to the hospital about it? No. I went back to my instructor and said, I'm not doing that again. And we talk, of course, in class, you share your experiences. You talk. And as soon as I start, and I get it. As a student, you never want to make waves. You're afraid of what's going to go on. But I've never been afraid to run my mouth anywhere, ever. And so I led the charge going, I'm not going to do this. This was my experience, and the state can suck it. I will forge signatures if I have to. I am not going back to that ER. And as soon as I said that, four other students went, that was the same experience I had. And the others who had signed up hadn't gone yet. And so everybody had to do one clinical through there. So everybody had to sit on the wall for one clinical and then never have to go back. And the state signed us off. So there's just issues. Do you always make a stink? Not necessarily. But if they are giving you anti-Semitic insults, if they are calling you racial slurs, and I'm not saying perceived, I'm not going, well, they hate me because I'm white. They hate me because I'm black. They hate me because I'm gay. Well, did they call you a gay slur? Homosexual slur? I'm not sure what the politically correct language there is. Did they call you a racial slur? Can you document what was said? Because until then, you're assuming. Maybe they just hate everybody. And that's a lot of charge nurses in the ER, is they hate everybody. Now, there's plenty of ERs with good charge nurses. There's plenty of ERs with great charge nurses. Great nurses, period. I always enjoyed my interactions with Newton ER, Newton General ER in Covington, Georgia, because they tended to hire better people. Now, of course, day to day, you'll have some ups and downs. You'll have a doctor who fights with you. You'll have a bad day and you'll crap on somebody else, and so on and so forth. But in general, they all enjoy coming to their job. They come to work, and for the most part, they are helpful and kind and happy. You definitely have that in the world. But then for every Newton, there's a Rockdale. And yeah, I'm dropping names. But there's a Rockdale ER where everybody there, no medical service ever wants to go there. Ever. Every last person I've ever talked to who walks into the ER says they get treated like crap. They get yelled at. There's people who hate their jobs. They get just withheld information. It's all this bad juju. That was always my experience. One or two good ones, mostly crap. As a patient, I've had family members in there treated like crap as family members, from doctors to nurses to everything. So for every good hospital, you have a bad one. For every bad experience, hopefully you'll have a good one. So there's the answer to that. And today, I think we'll wrap it here. Nobody's watching live right this second. Because I've seen some people coming out, but nobody's giving me questions. Nobody's interacting. And I've got some extra stuff I need to get done today. So I am going to cut this one a little short. But please, look, this is for you, the student. This is for you, the medic. This is for you, the citizen who wants to learn more about EMS. You're considering becoming an EMT. You're considering entering the medical field on many levels. You're going through clinicals. I mean, these are questions to ask, especially students. Ask about what you can expect in the field. Ask about what you can expect in the clinicals. Ask about what happens if this happens. Ask us. And we'll be here to discuss it with you. Hopefully next week I'll be with Tom, because then at least I'll get some interaction. We'll get some back and forth going on. But for now, that's going to be it. I do have announcements about some new classes coming up. So let me get this all kinds of set up here. So here is what's going on. We've got ACLS Research coming up Monday, March 13th from 9 to 5. PALS Research, there's still room in those classes. If you need that recertification, it's a one-day class. So come on and get recertified. HCP BLS, which is basically a healthcare provider, CPR kind of deal. That is coming up. It's only a 4-hour class, so that's March 15th. And then at the end of March and first part of May, we've got a new EMT class coming on with the Georgia Institute of EMS, and that orientation starts March 28th. Get in now. There's still a little bit of room left. And we've got advanced EMT also coming up starting on Thursday, May 4th. So those are your classes coming up. Here's where you get the information. It is 678-561-2368 or info@gaiems.com. That's info@Georgia Institute or IEMS.com. So check that out. Now, this discussion, as I would like it to be, this EMS Underground, where you hear the stories that you don't hear anywhere else, that the topics that people really kind of refuse to talk about, you'll hear it here. And that's going to happen every Thursday at 2:30 as best we can. Sometimes schedules conflict and we can't get it done. And the we is myself and Tom Camplain, who runs Georgia Institute of EMS. So if you'd like to have more, or if you'd like to interact with us a little bit more and come out and do that, we'd love for you to be a part of what we do. So that's all the announcements. And with that, I'm done. All that jazz. I'm Charles McFall. Find more of me at charlesmcfall.com.